Hey everyone, what's going on? It's If You Have to Pick Three. It's Matt.
And it's Zach.
We are given a list to pick three out of each, and then we fight it out for a final top three. We've done this one a few times. It is an annual show that we do here on If You Have to Pick Three. It's been announced. There's going to be so many debates coming up, and I feel like even more so this year than in others, but we'll get to that in a little bit. It is If You Have to Pick Three of the inductees for the 2022 Rock Hall class. Who do we think is going to get in?
Well, actually, Matt, it's two lists. What? That's right. We're choosing not only who do we want to be inducted, who we think should be inducted from the class of 2022, but who do we actually think will get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year?
So we've got Beck, Pat Benatar, Kate Bush, Devo, Duran, Eminem, the Eurythmics, Judas Priest, Fela Kuti, MC5, the New York Dolls, Dolly Parton, Rage Against the Machine, Lionel Richie, Carly Simon, A Tribe Called Quest, and Dionne Warwick.
So first, even though, yes, it was in alphabetical order when they announced it, I was very taken aback to see Beck's name thrown into it, because I guess it's just
kind of a weird one.
It's a weird one, but also it just kind of threw me off guard. I was like, oh, wow, I guess he is old enough to now be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So that was that's why it kind of threw me off. I also found it interesting that a lot of the artists like Kate Bush, Devo, Fela Kuti, and New York Dolls, they were nominated last year and didn't get in. It's interesting because I feel like sometimes with Rock Hall, and Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't they get put on the list last year?
Yeah, a lot of times I feel like you end up like seeing bands get nominated every other year if they don't get inducted. So I thought it was interesting that almost half of the list were people left over from last year.
Let me say this, because I know that this is going to be a topic amongst other people. And you just mentioned it yourself that if you didn't get in last year, maybe they'll skip you normally and you'll get back on the ballot the following year. Judas Priest has been on this list for quite some time, year after year after year. My question is, if they don't get inducted this year, why are they even going to be put on the ballot anymore?
I honestly don't know. And listen, I'm all for someone educating us in the comment section of any platform that you're streaming this on right now. I know what it takes to actually get inducted, because there's a whole people vote and submit their votes and everything and committees and whatnot. But I really don't fully understand what goes into the actual decision of who gets nominated. That part mind boggles me. But I also kind of want to say thank you to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for giving us an excuse to say Eminem and Dolly Parton in the same sentence.
I'm surprised they haven't worked together.
They should. If they end up duetting this year because of them being nominated, then the Rock Hall did their job. That would just be amazing.
If they did Stan, that would be kind of amazing. I'm not going to lie.
Could you imagine Dolly singing? That would be a dream.
That would be amazing.
Until the falling. Oh, that would be perfect. Like, we joke about it, but how much would you pay to see that?
I'm actually kind of excited now. I really want to see that.
Like, I'm about to say, no, they need to be inducted just for that collab performance in Cleveland. Oh my God. The possibilities. So, now we kind of know who we want to be. So like we've done in the past, this is where we determine who deserves to be inducted the most out of all these. And I should say also, looking at this list, all of these artists deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. No question. It's a matter of when and who should go before them is, I think, a better question out of these nominees. And before we go any further, I want to first say a quote from one of my favorite comedians, John Mulaney. Because
this is like a ritual we have to do.
It's a ritual. We can also then go into a whole debate about, well, Eminem is rap. A Tribe Called Quest is rap. Dolly Parton's country. They're not rock and roll. Blah, 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 blah. Well, I want to say this quote from John Mulaney, because this was in response when he was doing an editorial kind of interview about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction with Rolling Stone. And he was talking about how, the Rock's point of view that rap, dance, and pop and other genres don't belong in the Hall of Fame is bull. He goes, that's like saying, well, let's have a medicine Hall of Fame, but only up to penicillin. You're gonna run out of people extremely fast. Rock means pop music that pushes the envelope being parents, suits, teachers, and the powers that be. Rock is a state of mind. And I would argue that a lot of these artists, if not all of them, definitely represent that state of mind or have played a huge role in influencing that state of mind. Matt, I don't know if you want to disagree with me immediately, but just putting that quote out there again.
Well, normally in past years, I would definitely not disagree with you. However, this year, there is one person, there's actually two people on this list, maybe even three, that I would say didn't push the envelope. Because in your quote, he says that it's a state of mind, they're pushing the envelope. There's a few people on here that I don't think push the envelope, but I want to amend onto his quote because I think if you are passionate about your craft and do it to the best of your ability, it'll transcend genres and it won't matter what genre of music you are because people will recognize your greatness for who you are.
Fair enough. So I think let's first discuss who we believe should get inducted into the Hall of Fame this year out of all the nominees. But first, a special shout out to Lucky 13 Beard Co.
If you haven't joined us for a while now, or if this is your first time joining us, we have partnered with Lucky 13. They are a great company helping men feel their best, smell their best, and look their best with beard balms and oils. If you've never tried them before because, I don't need anything for my beard, you're sorely mistaken. Your beard is rough. It's hard. You need something to soften it up and to smell good. I mean, the ladies like it a little soft. They like it when you smell good. So give a beard balm or oil a try. And we happen to make our own with Ed from Lucky 13. It's called the Lemmy, and it embodies everything that Lemmy from Motorhead stood for: bourbon, cola, leather, and tobacco. We couldn't put rock and roll in there because rock and roll would smell kind of gross. But it's going to make you look good, feel good, smell epic. And we're even giving you 10% off. So if you head on over to Lucky 13, the number, beardco.com, and you go on to the product page, you'll see the Lemmy on there. Throw it in your cart. He's got a ton of other really awesome scents. You could throw some of them in there and use the code EFP10 at checkout. You'll get 10% off of your order. Head on over, Lucky 13, the number, beardco.com.
All right, so the nominees of 2022 Classic Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Who should get inducted first? Matt, I'm going to let you share your first three first.
First and foremost, this one, just for me, there's no debating this at all. Eminem, hands down. So if we have to go over Eminem statistics, if you don't know who Eminem is because you've been living under a rock for the last 20 plus years, 220 million records sold. It has 10 number one albums on the Billboard 200, 7 solo, 2 with D12, one of his other groups, and 1 with Bad Meets Evil, a little side project that he did. Best-selling music artist from 2000 to 2009, according to the Nielsen SoundScan. Best-selling music artist in the United States of the 2010s, 47.4 million albums sold in the country, 107.5 million singles in the U.S. sold. The Marshall Mathers LP, The Eminem Show, Lose Yourself, Love the Way You Lie, and Not Afraid have all been certified diamond or higher by RIAA. Over 10 billion views of his music videos on YouTube. And in 2014, and it's hard to believe that Spotify's been around since 2014, that he was named the most streamed music artist of all time. Now, in addition to that, if that's not enough, 15 Grammys, 8 American Music Awards, 17 Billboard Music Awards. Billboard named him as the Artist of the Decade from 2000 to 2009. He received a Golden Globe Icon Award in 2013 from MTV Europe. The success that he saw from his movie 8 Mile saw him win a 2002 Academy Award for Best Original Song for Lose Yourself, and that was the first time a rapper has ever received that award. Won the MTV Movie and TV Award for Best Actor in a Movie and Best Breakthrough Performance, and the Critics' Choice Movie Award for Best Song for Lose Yourself. So, just a few things that Eminem has done over his career. Now, if what we said about the quote from John Mulaney is true, who better than Eminem pushes the mindset of rock and roll and pushes the envelope more than Eminem. I mean, the huge controversies that he's been a part of over the years, feuding with everybody underneath the sun, including Limp Bizkit, Christina Aguilera, NSYNC, the Backstreet Boys. There's so many things that he's done to push the envelope. I mean, how many times has he made fun of Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky, and that whole scandal that happened? The deep and emotional songs that really hit you, like Stan. And then just to come back with like pop bangers when you think he's, just washed up with Love the Way You Lie with Rihanna, and then to completely reinvent himself again and become one of the fastest rappers on the planet with a song like Rap God. And then this year he's going to be doing the Super Bowl. I don't think I need to say more about Eminem and why he, in my opinion, is going to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year. So that's number one.
Well, hold on now. You're saying the way you just said that, is that who you think will or should be, to clarify?
Should.
Now, the second artist nominee who you think should get inducted into the Hall of Fame this year.
This is one of the people who I actually talked about when I said it's not about pushing boundaries. It's Dolly Parton. So I'm going to run down some accolades here because Dolly Parton is one of those people who has pretty much done it all. And she continues to do things that nobody's ever done before. So let's talk about this. She's got a total of 50 Grammy Award nominations, the second most nominations of any female artist in the history of the prestigious award. She's also appeared on the country music charts in each of 7 decades. 7 decades. That's the most of any artist ever. So, I mean, if those two things just aren't enough for you, I mean, she's got, I think 25 of her singles or albums are gold, platinum, or multi-platinum, 26 songs to reach number 1, which is a record for a female artist, period. 42 career top 10 country albums. That's a record for any artist. 110 career charted singles over 40 years. So, I mean, I can keep going on and on and on about Dolly Parton. She's been in classic movies like 9 to 5. She's also helped fund part of the COVID vaccine out of her own pocket. Dolly Parton is just a humanitarian. She always is giving and always is donating and doing good. So I'm not going to go further down this list with Dolly Parton. If you don't know Dolly Parton, once again, another one of those that you really have to be living under a rock. And finally, who I think should get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that would be Mr. Lionel Richie.
Wow.
He's another one of the ones that I don't think really pushed the envelope. I think he's done an amazing job throughout his career and is amazing at what he does. And his work transcends genres. Not that, a song like Endless Love is transcendent into like the rock world, but I mean, everybody knows Endless Love. He did it back in, 82 with Diana Ross. It remains among the top 20 of the best-selling singles of all time, and it was the biggest single that he ever had for both him and Diana Ross. But I mean, in addition to that, he was a part of being a writer of Song of the Year in 1985 for We Are the World with Michael Jackson. Like, that's insane. If you don't know what We Are the World is, go YouTube it. You need to learn about that. He was the first person ever to receive an RIAA Diamond Award. Now, him being on his own is good. He was also a co-lead singer and songwriter for the Commodores. Now, if you don't know who the Commodores are, go look up the song Brick House. You probably know what that is. But there's also other tracks like Machine Gun that were really good, which probably was featured in a lot of X-rated adult movies, but it's still a really great funk song. He also had other singles with the Commodores like Easy, Sail On, 3 Times a Lady, Still, before he departed with the band. There's just so much that Lionel Richie has done in his career. He's got 6 Grammy nominations, which is an achievement that is only matched by one other person, and you might know his name. That would be Paul McCartney. So putting all of these things in perspective, and then things that are still happening to Lionel Richie, and people recognizing his greatness, that this year he's actually going to be inducted into the Black Music and Entertainment Walk of Fame, and he's going to receive the Gershwin Prize for Popular Songs by the Library of Congress. There's a lot that Lionel Richie has done over his career, but one of the best things that he's ever done, hands down, he's helped raise over $3.1 million for breast cancer research. Once again, another just great humanitarian who is not pushing boundaries by any stretch of the imagination with anything that he's done, but just being a great, great, great musician, perfecting his craft, even though it's not for a lot of people. Maybe you don't love, easy listening music like Endless Love, or maybe the first time you ever heard Endless Love and the only time you ever heard Endless Love was in Happy Gilmore. But Lionel Richie, just a transcendent musician that I think is bigger than genres of music. So the three that should get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame: Eminem, Dolly Parton, and Lionel Richie. Zach, what say you?
Well, I want to make it very clear that my three who should get into the Hall of Fame is very different from who will get into the Hall of Fame, my list at least.
Okay.
Because I know that, there's a difference between who has all the qualifications to get in and then who, for whatever reason, the Rock Hall decides, you know what, no, they should get in for political reasons or for popularity reasons or so forth. My list is about artists who have been long overlooked by the Hall of Fame. And you can argue that it's finally great that they're getting nominated or that they've been nominated, but you can also argue that they should have been inducted years ago. First being none other than Miss Pat Benatar. She is one of the most successful female singers from the 80s, arguably probably every decade. I mean, she's had multiple platinum records with hits like Hit Me With Your Best Shot, Love Is a Battlefield, We Belong, and Heartbreaker, so many others. Just she is a huge influence on so many female artists, and she's still touring today. She is so popular, that's so underrated, and it's literally a shame that she's come very close in recent years, but even when she's gotten the fan vote pretty high up, she's just been kind of left off the ballot. I really think she should be inducted in this year. My second pick is Judas Priest. I hate even using the argument because rock or metal or whatever. We've discussed in the past how, some people argue that it should be Priest or Maiden. To me, I'm going with Priest before. And I even said this in the past years when Maiden was up for nomination, that there's no doubt about Iron Maiden's influence, but not before Priest. Arguably, Priest came before a lot of these bands, and they influenced so many others. And I would even argue that if Sabbath is the godfather of metal, then Priest is arguably the godmother of the genre. They influenced so much of the sound, so much of the style of metal that we know of today. The twin guitar attack, they're so influential. I mean, even Metallica would argue that they should be in the Hall of Fame immediately. So to me, Judas Priest. And this third slot on who should be inducted into the Hall of Fame, I'm not going to lie, I was a little torn. Because last year I said the New York Dolls, because they are one of the most underappreciated punk bands of all time. And so many punk bands would say that without them, there would really be no punk. Hell, you could argue that the Sex Pistols lifted a lot from the New York Dolls. But then I was also torn between Rage Against the Machine, who for many years I was like, yeah, they're influential, but not yet. But like, you know what? It's been 30 years now since Rage Against the Machine's self-titled debut came out. And it's kind of hard to argue that they haven't been so influential and so much of a game changer in rock and heavy music. It'd be hard to say that maybe they shouldn't be inducted this year or wait until another year. And plus, they've been nominated now for so many years. At what point is it just enough already? Get them in. But I'm going to go back to New York Dolls because it really is criminal how much the history of rock has overlooked the New York Dolls' influence in rock and roll music, with the glam persona, with the edgy attitude to the music. Sure, they didn't really last long, but kind of like a lot of the great bands that are inducted into the Hall of Fame too, it really only took one album to make such a huge difference. And I think it's about time that the New York Dolls get that recognition. So to recap, the artists who I think should get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2022 out of the nominees are Pat Benatar, Judas Priest, and the New York Dolls. So now, Matt, if you don't mind, I'd like to start sharing the next list. If we were to place Vegas odds, who do we actually think will get into the Hall of Fame?
Go for it.
I'm going to start off real quick by just naming the first two. Eminem, Dolly Parton. Those are the best bets on who will get into. In fact, I will be shocked if they don't get into the Hall of Fame. Because of every single fact that Matt said about both artists. There's no denying their credits. There's no denying their influence on all types of genres too, not just rap and country respectively. They are huge megastars, and I would be shocked if the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame doesn't even try to nudge some of the votes to even make sure that they do get into the Hall of Fame just for ratings alone. They are the two big mega players on the ballot, and when you look at it, it's hard to deny their influence too. So I think, yeah, they check off all the boxes. Sure thing, Eminem and Dolly Parton. And my third slot on who I think will get inducted, going back to the beginning, on the merits of their legacies, every act that's on the ballot deserves to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And you could argue that all of these artists should have been inducted many years ago. In fact, I'll say it right now, I'm shocked Carly Simon hasn't been inducted yet. I thought she was already.
You're so vain.
I am so vain. Lionel Richie also, he deserves it. The Eurythmics, I actually thought they were in it as well. I guess Annie Lennox might be. I was shocked. But I think the third best bet, I kind of teased this before my list of who should. I actually think this could be Rage Against the Machine's year. I think the number of nominations they've gotten over the years, you can argue that they're more of a legacy band and they're touring as a reunited band and less as a new band. I think this could be finally the year. It's been 30 years since the self-title came out. I'm also kind of shocked that it's taken so long, only because Tom Morello is such an influential voter when it comes to when the nominations are announced and helping decide who gets actually inducted. I mean, him, Questlove, and a few other artists are actually on boards together where they have this open discussions about who should get inducted. And actually, I think it was Questlove who even said that it was Tom Morello who made him realize, yeah, Kiss should finally get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I'm a little surprised it's taken so long, unless Tom Morello has been the one saying, no, don't induct us. I don't want to have to deal with getting all four of us on the same stage to make an acceptance speech. I got a feeling that this could be the year that Rage finally gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. But those are my three who I think will, Vegas odds, definitely be getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. Eminem, Dolly Parton, and dare I say, Rage Against the Machine. I do want to make one asterisk note. To your point about Lionel Richie, yes, all so true about his legacy, and there's no denying his influence in the industry as well, which is why I think he will not be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year among the normal nominees, but rather he'll receive a side award. So like LL Cool J last year won the Music Excellence Award, and that's how he got inducted into the Hall of Fame, which was kind of weird. I was like, oh, that just put him in. Why does he have to get an award? I think that's how they're going to recognize Lionel Richie, but I don't know if he will get inducted as an actual part of the class. That's just my prediction. But Matt, what are your picks?
Well, obviously I'm going with Eminem and Dolly Parton, hands down. There's no way you don't. You know, this is like that bet that you put $100 on and you're only going to win like 10 cents because it's pretty sure that that's going to happen.
I would be shocked. I almost want to put a bet that it won't happen just in case it does and I win so much money from it.
So also looking at the prior inductees over the last 2 years. So in 2020, you had Depeche Mode, the Doobie Brothers, Whitney Houston, Nine Inch Nails, Notorious B.I.G., and T-Rex. In 2021, you had the Foo Fighters, Go-Go's, Jay-Z, Carole King, Todd Rundgren, and Tina Turner. So you need to have a quintessential rock band get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, some people are going to say, well, that should be Judas Priest. Potentially. If you go by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's track record of who gets in, like hell, even going back to 2019, you had The Cure, Def Leppard, Janet Jackson, Stevie Nicks, Radiohead, Roxy Music, and the Zombies. So you had the quintessential rock band being Def Leppard that year. The Cure is, the goth underground pick, and then Radiohead is, well, everybody, I guess, in the world sees the need for Radiohead to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and maybe I still don't get Radiohead, but we had a whole episode on that. As I digress,
listen to it.
But
Great
if
episode.
if you look at this track record and looking at the names that are left on this list, it could be Judas Priest's year. I don't see Rage Against the Machine getting in. I mean, then we're looking at Carole King's spot. So that spot in 2020 was Whitney Houston. 2019 was Janet Jackson and Stevie Nicks. 2020 had a lot of inductees, or 2019 had a lot of inductees.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say like, oh, there's the rock slot, there's the rap slot, because I think each year kind of varies with the numbers. And
I don't know about that. Here,
it kind of varies. I don't know.
2017 ELO, Joan Baez, Journey, Pearl Jam, Tupac, and Yes. So I have a feeling that there is no other, and I hate to say it this way, but there is no other deserving bands on this list that I think are above Judas Priest. This could be their year to get in on that rock slot.
Would you consider Duran Duran to be that rock slot? It's a different type of rock. What would you say? The pop?
I would. You know what though? If we're going here, see, this is why it's so hard to do only 3 on this list, because as I'm looking at this, I'm trying to match up what could potentially get inducted. So I'm going to break protocol here because there's 6 spots and I'm going to see if I can fill them. So
wait, 6 spots? No.
Yeah. Well,
no.
Go. Hold on. I think the rock slot is going to be Judas Priest. If we're going to go with the pop slot, and that's the Go-Go's from last year, we're going to go with Devo. Jay-Z obviously is Eminem. Carole King is Dolly Parton. Todd Rundgren, I could see that potentially could be Carly Simon. Oh no, you know what? Tina Turner could be Carly Simon, and then I could see Todd Rundgren probably filled in with Pat Benatar. Yeah.
Is that 6?
Yeah, that's 6.
All right. Well, so if I had to place a bet on what I think the ballot will be, so Dolly Parton, Eminem, I think Rage. I think they have a good shot. Something about Carly Simon is standing out for some reason.
Yeah, it feels like that, right?
Something I can't put my finger as to why. I wish deep down I could confidently say Judas Priest too. Especially because I know that they're going to be, they of all bands are going to be campaigning even harder than anyone. I don't feel confident about Judas Priest.
But you know what? I hate even that we have to say that.
I know,
hate that.
So I have 4 so far. Carly Simon. Something about Duran Duran too is like, I think when people go to vote, nostalgia is going to play a huge role, and they were huge in the 80s. Hell, I got Rio stuck in my head right now just thinking about it. I have a feeling Duran Duran might slip in. I could be wrong about Pat Benatar, and maybe that's just my wishful thinking, but I do feel like she has a strong shot to get into the 6. I think Lionel Richie, while I wouldn't be surprised if he makes it into the 6th ballot slot, I think he'll get recognized via an award. To recap, so for the artists who we think should get into the Hall of Fame, let's do a quick proposal here. So Dolly Parton, Eminem, I'll give you.
Yep.
If you give me either Pat Benatar or Judas Priest, I have a feeling you're leaning towards Judas Priest on who we think should get into the Hall of Fame.
Hit me with your best shot.
Ooh, that's a surprise. All right, so the final
Fire
3
away.
The final 3 of who we think should get into the Hall of Fame this year: Dolly Parton, Eminem, and boom, the heartbreaker herself, Pat Benatar. And for the artists who we think will get into the Hall of Fame, Eminem, Dolly Parton, for sure. And this is where we're going to be in a bit of debate, huh?
Yeah, so if we're going to talk about a 3 list, because I know we went off on a bit of a tangent.
Yeah, I went to rate. I mean, we could just leave it at our ballots and let the good people.
Yeah, I don't think. Decide. See, I don't think we can do that. I think leave it at the ballots that we talked about earlier.
Although, let's be real, Dolly Parton, Eminem.
Oh yeah.
They're getting in. There's only one thing you take away from this episode, is that we want/demand a duet between Dolly Parton and Eminem doing Stan.
That would be amazing.
But do you agree? Do you agree with our picks? Do you disagree with our picks? Are you still just pissed off at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for something? Let us know on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Epic Footnote. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel to hear more silly little podcasts like this, as well as some cool videos that we produced over the past few months. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much to Lucky 13 Beard Co. Again, go to lucky13beardco.com. Use the code EFP10 to get 10% off your order. Some amazing, great smelling beard oils. Also, thanks to Rootless Coffee, based out of Flint, Michigan. They produce some delicious coffee blends, really unique, interesting tastes. Go to rootlesscoffee.com. Use the code EPICROAST. Get 15% off of your order. You're going to thank me for it. If you're a caffeine junkie like me, you're really going to love them. Thanks so much for listening, and we hope you listen to us again real soon.
Oh, my tea's gone cold. I wonder why.